We'll start here. Welcome to your very first class of advanced quantitative and qualitative methods. I just put quantitative methods because my chunk is just quantitative methods. In the second half, you'll have Karen McKellar, who does the qualitative part, but my part is just the quant part. So today will be some admin, some introduction, your very first baby steps in R, and that's the purpose. So the slides will be linked on Blackboard, and I'll show you in a moment. Everything is hosted on my personal site as well, so don't feel like you have to take extensive notes. So you should be able to follow along on your laptop as well. So if you can't see it in the back, you should be able to just follow along via Blackboard. Okay. Oh, that just doesn't fit. That's unfortunate. Let's see if we can find a way of getting it to fit, because it's the beamer, not the presentation. So let's see if we can do this. I made the browser slightly smaller, so occasionally some things will drop off, and it's not because the presentation doesn't work, it's because the beamer is set up in a funky way. So the goal of today is to teach you a little bit about Markdown. Does anybody know what Markdown is? Have any of you ever hosted a blog or something like that? So Markdown is a very, very basic formatting language which people use, for example, for making of blogs or making of things. So I'll teach you a little bit about R. I'll tell you a little bit about Jupyter or notebooks. I'll tell you a little bit about RStudio. We'll do some basic statistics. So there's statistics from your undergraduates, like calculating a mean, those type of very basic things I hope to do by the end of the session as well. So quite a lot to take in. I'll speak very fast. If I speak too fast, raise your hands and I'll try to slow down. So the goals for the course, we have these as well, so I'm just going to list them. So this is what I hope to achieve. So you should have balanced judgments of data with regards to complex, incomplete, and ambiguous data. You should be able to contribute to new knowledge with practical applications. You should be able to use a variety of techniques and psychological research. So we'll talk about it later, but it will teach you like structural equation modeling and more advanced things which you might come across. And apply the relevant ethical, legal, and professional practice frameworks and maintain professional boundaries. So hopefully some of the exercises will also give you some of the insights of decision making with data, like what happens if I keep an outlier or what happens if I remove an outlier, for example. So you can see that, but everybody gets a goal. So housekeeping. So you can bring your laptop to class. I expect you to look mostly at class-related stuff. Don't look at 9gag, Instagram, Twitter, all sorts of other things. There's a course manual. Did you manage to see the course manual linked via Blackboard? Yeah. So it's also hosted on my website, and that basically has all the information. Let me just go out here. So for this, so on this website, on my website, you'll have research. You'll have some general thing. You'll have a linked course manual, and that gives you all the descriptions of course load, all these objectives also, how you're going to be assessed. All these other information is on there. Yeah. So everything should be on there. There's a reading list, which you should also have linked via Blackboard. So there's tons of reading you can do about statistics and R. And I expect you to attend, even though this is not an attendance monitored module. The people who attend do very well. The people who don't attend don't do very well in the assignments. So just try to come to class. Try to be on time, and try when you come to class, try to be engaged and try to do the exercises. That's all we're looking for. And so after each lecture, so already after this first lecture, there's going to be homework, so to speak. So there's going to be an exercise for you to try, and you might have already seen in Blackboard. You can upload the exercise, and then what I do is I give you the results, and you're going to be able to self-check and say, oh, this is where I did something differently. And if you have any remaining questions, you can post them on Blackboard. So you don't get individual feedback. The way it works is because you're all advanced studies students, you upload your own solution. You're going to get the solution. You're going to compare and say, oh, this is where I went wrong. This is where I did okay. And then you're going to have to ask questions if you still struggle to understand what's going on. So it's slightly different than your undergraduate. So it's a lot more autonomous learning going on as well. And in part that's because I only have 2 hours to teach you the whole of statistics. So that's the issue. So you can book an appointment with me via email. So I won't go one-to-one through your exercises. Everything should go via Blackboard. But if there's major issues that you feel you need to discuss with me, you can come and see me. But because most of you will have the same question, you'll use the Blackboard to post the question, and then hopefully either me or one of us. So I haven't introduced Alex and Sarah, our two teaching assistants, who've been through the course and can tell you it's all doable and all fine. So they will respond. Okay. So assignments that you probably care most about, your marks. So as you'll know from the introduction, there's 30% attached to each assignment. So this section makes up 60%. The remaining 40% is qualitative methods. There's deadlines. They will be, you will have them in your MRES handbook, and you'll also see them appear in Turnitin. So you should know about those deadlines. They're graded via rubrics. So this is quite a big assignment, but every little thing gets chunked into 2 or 3 marks. So you'll have to do like 50 different items or something, and all of them are graded, and I have a grading scheme to grade all those things. Well, this isn't online yet, but I'll provide you with an empty shell, and you'll know what a shell is in a moment, where you can start putting in bits and pieces of your assignment, and that will, in the end, be the assignment you submit. You will turn in a PDF, and you will also turn in that raw shell, which has all the code in it, and a screenshot of the folder to make sure it's your own work. So you can try and cheat, but it's going to be very difficult because I need a screenshot of the folder which has all the files which you generate as part of the assignment in it. So that's how I make sure that you don't just copy from each other, because it's going to be quite difficult to generate that. So I have to be able to see in that screenshot that it's your you upload that screenshot, and that will have all the files in it that you've generated as part of the assignment. It will become clearer as we go along as to what it is that I'm looking for. So I would suggest that you complete the exercises both in class and at the assignment, and you can find them not under study skills, because we restructured, so every single time it will be under the week 1, week 2, week 3. You can ask questions via Blackboard, so you'll see that there's already discussion for us, so you can post things. I'll try and check those at least every 72 hours, every 3 days, and I will answer your question. But I'm not going to answer your question about the assignment if you didn't bother to do the exercise. So that's also quite different, perhaps, because part of the, if you haven't attempted the exercise, I'm going to ask you to try and attempt the exercise first, because that will resolve some of the issues which you might have with the assignment. Yeah. So that's it's not to punish you, but it's just because once you've done the assignment, once you've done the exercise, it will be clear what I'm looking for in the assignment. So there's quite a good correspondence, and so people in the class do very well. The ones who've done all the exercises tend to do extremely well in the assignments, because there's really quite good mirroring between the exercises and the assignments. So it's just, if you stop doing the exercises, you're going to struggle to do the assignment. Okay, you might also, Michael might have already eased you into this. So why are we teaching you R? And I'm going to try and convince you. So most of you are probably familiar with Excel or SPSS. Anybody who hasn't used Excel or SPSS? All of you will have Excel or SPSS in your undergraduate. It's the most common package. So why would we change to R for this course? It's because there's quite a few reasons. So it will make it easier for you to do repetitive tasks. So for example, doing the same thing over and over, for example, in SPSS, making a table and then having to format your Word, put it in a Word document and then formatting it, that's quite a lot of hassle. R has some packages which will generate formatted tables for you, so you don't have to go through all the steps. And some of these will be APA style to begin with, so you wouldn't have to do that over and over. So R is maintained by so SPSS is owned by IBM now, and it's maintained by a private company. And R is maintained on a voluntary basis by statisticians and academics and experts, and computer scientists. So you'll make sure that you'll have the latest things. So if there's a bug in SPSS, it will take a while to fix, or if people spot an error, it will take a while to fix because the company has to fix it. Whereas in R, it's a continuously living thing and get continuously updated as knowledge progresses. So some things which I would be able to, which I should teach you, are not available in SPSS. So if you might have heard of structural equation models. So that's used, for example, to validate scales. That doesn't exist in SPSS. You would have to buy another package like SPSS Amos or Lizrel or Latent Gold in order to do that. And the nice thing, it's free and open. So unlike SPSS, if you leave university, you have to hope that your employer, the NHS or somebody else, will have an SPSS license. RStudio and R will always be open source and will always be free. So that's another reason why I think it's a benefit to you. So unlike SPSS, SAS, Statistica, all these other things, R will is started out as being free and will continue to be free. Even more benefits. It forces you to think about what you're doing, unlike SPSS, where you might just click a button and sort of see what the output gives. Here you're going to have to do a little bit of thinking as to what goes into where and what it yields. And so also, if some things don't work the way you'd like it to be, you can actually change it. So you could write your very own package to change the way in which R operates or runs things. So the nice thing also, compared to SPSS, is that there's a very active help community. Have you heard of Stack Overflow? It's very popular amongst computing scientists and amongst programmers. I'll see if I can quickly click out to this. So Stack Overflow. So people post questions, mostly coders and developers. And if you're facing an issue with R, usually you're not the first one. So there's thousands and thousands of questions on there. And so most of the time, people will face the same issue like you have. And so it's one of the most popular packages to be discussed. So let's go back to the full screen. I should have left out Thomas Cook. They didn't collapse because of R, just to let you know. But big companies like Facebook, Google, Shell, many others, BBC News, for example, they make their graphics based on R. So big companies will now be less likely to use SPSS or a proprietary package. They will tend to use R or RStudio. Okay, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are some downsides. It will be a learning curve. It's difficult. So there is no GUI. That means there is no pointy clicky thing which will do things for you. You're going to have to learn how to write code, which can be a challenge. And R can be slower. So if you're a hardcore programmer and you are used to programming, any of you a hardcore programmer who's programmed in C++ or Python or something else? No. So if you were a hardcore programmer, you'd be disappointed with how slow R is sometimes. It still will beat most SPSS or most stats packages at how fast it can do things. But there are languages which are faster, like Python and C++ and Java. So before we move to R, we're going to learn you a little bit about Markdown, which is a very basic programming language for highlighting things. So we're going to walk through a tutorial. It's not important if you don't get all the way to the end. So I'm also going to call time at one point because we have to move on. So on your own machine or on one of those machines, go to www.markdowntutorial.com or click through the link. I will have some basic steps. The most important thing is that you sort of know how lists work and how making something bold or something italic works, because that's the thing we'd like you to do. So on your own PC or something, it's an interactive tutorial. Occasionally it will hang because it doesn't like you leaving a space or something like that. So don't worry too much about that. Just press the skip button to go to the next exercise. And I'm going to call time around 5 or 10 minutes after you've engaged with it.